it's been anchored. And I actually see it as the Hindu goddess of Kali working with Mother Mary in the core of the earth, like literally holding this nurturing space for the fiery act of transmutation, because Gaia herself is also ascending. Organic humans are the most sophisticated technology that is absolutely possible to exist. Look at one cell under a microscope, it's all there. And again, there's no getting the path wrong, no matter who you are. So you are not going to fail in your ascension. And, it is us, it is our own soul. And we can trust and have faith that at the soul level, all of this process is purposeful. So, talks in one of her books about the difference between duality and polarity. The year that this union is supposed to happen, the divine feminine is rising, and that what you said resonates with what I get also. The divine feminine rises first, and coming to understand the shadows that want to be released. The divine feminine has been doing that work in some way, shape, or form, individually, collectively, for thousands of years, preparing for this. And very often I'm seeing this separation, and it's like, where is this union? And most people at this point, and things are shifting fast, are in the dream, are in the so-called matrix, and they're not aware at all that there's a mechanism.
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. Our guest today is Tammy Stone from Canada. She is an Akashic Records Reader, a Reiki Master, and an author. It's so lovely to have you here, Tammy. Warm welcome to Multidimensional Soul Talk Show and Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. We just did a little bit of a settling in space. And as soon as we entered this field, there's so much love permeating the space. And I'm so, so grateful to be here to connect with you in this sacred space, and also to have a chance, this opportunity to connect with your lovely audience. I am so grateful. Thank you.
Sure, you're most welcome. It's my pleasure. And I would like to share with our viewers or our audience that you have kept the records open throughout this conversation. You are a conscious channel. So we have the records open.
Yes.
Amazing. This is part two of a two-part conversation. If you have not watched part one, then we highly recommend that you watch that. The link for that is provided in the video description. True, because you brought up the heart space, and when we talk about the heart space, specifically about the relationships, and the most talked about relationship is, of course, of your romantic partner. And when we talked about different paths actually leading to the source, but when we come here, we choose certain destined paths, so to say, and there are soul contracts and soul blueprint in place, and then we move as per that. Now, I am or I have been on twin flame journey, and our audience also is quite yeah, I've chosen a lot of things to work on in this lifetime. As I said, like multiple
Very
lifetimes.
ambitious.
So, so general understanding, and there is again a debate about this, that twin flame is again, it's a spiritual path, but twin flame is your highest vibrational timeline and highest vibrational path leading to the highest expansion of consciousness, because the twin flames take birth and then they work separately to work the lineage and societal conditioning and shadows of each other, because they are mirroring each other. So they mirror the shadows and the light of each other, and that's how, and when they are awakened to the extent that they can come in union, then they come in union. Now, 2025, my guidance that I have received is that in this dynamic, the divine feminine awakens first and the divine masculine follows. And the divine masculine has a choice and free will to not come in union and choose somebody else. And the guidance is that in that case, higher vibrational divine counterpart, who is a vibrational match for you, will come in union. So when we talked about different paths converging and coming to the source, also there is this dynamic that in this lifetime you have chosen certain experiences, and we have a soul contract and a soul blueprint. So from twin flame perspective, what is your experience? What is the guidance that we have from the Akashic for the twin flame dynamic? Because there are very few physical unions that are seen in the world. It's very, very controversial that they're forcing the unions, that saying that this is your twin flame, and that's also not right, because each person has his or her own free will. So what's your guidance about twin flame versus divine counterparts from Akashic perspective?
I mean, this is a big one, right? And how it often comes through for me is, and I so relate to that. And there's so many aspects, like you said, soul contract, soul families, soul. There are twins who are not necessarily twin flames, but in some cosmologies, if you're in a grouping of souls, let's say 12, that you can, it's not a twin flame, but there's the twin within that cosmology. So you're connected, but you be more like a soulmate, or there's a catalyzer. There's so many, and language can become limiting. The felt experience is what we can feel into. And the way that it usually comes through, and it's from this largest perspective, is every soul, whether you're a twin flame or not, is looking to come into union, divine union. This is ascension. This is the ultimate ascension. And there are the various ways that you're going to do that. And if you are a twin flame, that is your path. You don't not be that path, right? And so the way that higher perspective comes through for me when I'm talking to clients in this situation is, like you said, you can't force it. So you can tune in and you can know, and it can feel like this is the year that this union is supposed to happen. The divine feminine is rising, and that what you said resonates with what I get also. The divine feminine rises first. For me, that also connects with what is happening on the collective as a whole. So I'm always connecting in the micro and the as above, so below, that we're in a time when the patriarchy has peaked and has long peaked and is in a sense crumbling. I don't like to see it as the crumbling. It is a recalibration now that is happening, and there's a lot of wounding that is, we can see it all around us. We can just look outside of both of our windows and we can see lots of the wounding. The feminine has been rising in her power and coming to understand the shadows that want to be released. The divine feminine has been doing that work in some way, shape, or form, individually, collectively, for thousands of years, preparing for this. And so on the level of the twin flame, on the level of each soul needing to balance the divine feminine and masculine within themselves, which is the path to union, the feminine is leading first, and it's calling attention. So for example, not to distract from the topic, but so many women or genders that, so many of the, let's say, people in feminine or women bodies have, in our generation, let's say, maybe roughly, were really conditioned and raised to be in their masculine, to go out and succeed and to do this and to do and to be productive. So have the masculines, but the feminines have been kind of taught to suppress their femininity. So this is what's coming online now, and it can look really ugly and dark when we realize, what have we suppressed? This anger, the rage, everything that wants to come through. And we have been doing that. And we have been collectively coming into this greater sense of our expansiveness. Whereas the masculine, as I'm seeing it, and not in every single case, but is still kind of in that collective energy of the crumbling of the old order and doesn't quite understand what's going on yet, and is not really in that position to rise to meet the feminine where she's leading. And so very often I'm seeing this, exactly this separation, and it's like, where is this union? And so what the records keep saying is, is patience. And it sounds so simple, but and it's not. And this journey is, it can take lifetimes, but also every these days, with all energies being so amplified, every second can be a lifetime. The records are changing all the time. Everything, if we look back to from 1980 to 1990, things were fairly stable. If you look at 2024 to 2025, everything has changed and we can feel it. So they're saying right now, there is, you can't force someone's enlightenment. And we know this. Probably every single one of us on an awakening path has people in our lives who are not on a conscious awakening path, and you can't force it. I've tried. I've tried to talk to people and to say, come on, what about this? What about this? We have to work together. And it's, you can't match with frequencies that are not vibrating. Now, a twin flame, you are the same soul. You're mirroring each other. The frequencies are there, but the human experiences are different. And for some souls, they're going to choose out of their free will not to ascend or not to make those choices. Now, free will is a whole other topic, because while we're here to make choices and exercise our free will, we're not really free, because we're under the heavy fog and density of our conditioning, of our ancestral karma, of so many things. So there are so many aspects at play feeding into a soul's ability, or the incarnated aspect of the soul's choice making. And so all we can do as, let's say, the feminine in this case, is to retain the awareness of that it's this expansion, right? So if we were in our me space, then we have what we want, and then we recognize that there's something lacking in us to want, and so that our twin flame becomes the mirror, right? So if you're not a twin flame, it's someone else, or it's divinity itself that acts as the mirror for you to realize what is lacking, what am I meant to learn, what am I meant to grow into. And ultimately, it's to be almost forced through this experience of the twin flame, which is excruciating, into your sense of wholeness, into your inner divinity. And as that happens, and we have to be kind of brutally honest with ourselves in this process, have I achieved that union? What still wants to come through? What collectively can I be working on? And as that happens, inevitably, whether it's in this lifetime or another, that soul is going to ascend as a result of what you are mirroring back. And it's not to say it's your fault if they're not doing what they're doing because you're a mirror. No, it's the same soul, but it's two, very deliberately, two different bodies with two different sets of experiences. So it's all learning, it's all expansion, but it's excruciating, because there's this being that is you and and you can't be with them. So patience. And it's the same message for everyone, whether you know of a twin flame or not, whether you're in a deep karmic relationship with someone or not, whether your path is the path of the mystic and you're on a mountain and you want to feel God so deeply inside of you. In essence, it's the same thing. It's to look at what is in the way, what within me is still feeling separate from the whole, that I am not whole in myself. why don't I love, what is there, what is in the way of me loving myself and understanding that to love myself is to allow divine awareness to flow through me and to be what it is. So it's kind of the same message for all, with a deep bow of respect for you as a twin flame on your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, I was actually told that I have split my soul and the other half in this other person's body. But in 2025, I have received this clear guidance that if the divine masculine chooses not to come in union, uses his free will, then from the same monad, like you said, that we have a monad and there are 12 pairs, and from the same monad, probably, or from other monad, some other vibrational match will come for physical union. Like you said, that eventually they may ascend, they may not ascend in this life and come in physical union. Because what is happening across the world is divine feminines keep waiting because they don't want to chase the masculine. And when the union within is complete, then even then, if the masculine doesn't ascend and meets in physical union, then there is this waiting kind of that happens for the feminine. And then that again pulls you into lower vibration. So then the purpose itself is kind of defeated of this journey. And that is why loving yourself, standing in your own power, having that sovereignty, and maintaining the inner union, you can still ascend, and then whoever ultimately it's the union with God.
Yes, I think that's the biggest, thank you exactly for pointing that aspect of it out. There's no getting the path wrong, no matter who you are. So you are not going to fail in your ascension. And, when a twin flame becomes aware of the twin flame journey, they're on a path of ascension. This is not a game about relationships. So
Yeah,
you're on the conscious path of ascension. And you're not going to get ascension wrong, based on how I deeply believe that even though someone might not exercise their free will in a way that it is facilitating a union, I believe even that's purposeful. And yes, there are aspects to our soul plan that are fixed and marked. We're
yeah,
meant to hit kind of certain markers on the path, and those can change. Like I had a really interesting experience, not twin flame related, where I changed the way I'm learning somehow, and I became aware of that on a multi-dimensional level. But you can things will change, but it's not like there's some external force judging saying you're going to fail if you don't do this, or it is us, it is our own soul. And we can trust and have faith that at the soul level all of this process is purposeful. So even though, yes, as the feminine there's the waiting and there's kind of that readiness, the waiting itself has lessons in it. Maybe it's to teach you that waiting is purposeful because it gives you a chance to develop other areas of your life that are going to enhance the union when it happens. Or maybe it's to understand patience or to learn compassion on a deeper level. There's always something. And then paradoxically, when we do realize, there's all these infinite layers of what wholeness can look like, that is when that union becomes possible. So I would believe that if you, for example, get another soul, someone else from that group or another to come in, that's because your soul has decided, yes, that this is that my path to union. And it's not like that person's a placeholder for the other or any, it's like in this moment, which is the only moment there is, which is the only totality, my highest good is best served by a union that I'm going to be given. And the trick is to be open to it. And
exactly.
when we're very attached on the human level to it being this person, it's really total empathy and sympathy, really hard to do that because you want it to be that person.
Exactly, yeah.
And
And
so it's the
that's the guidance
expiating.
I had, that
Yeah.
lose
Okay. So we're
lose
on
the
this.
attachment to the person.
Well,
because
yeah.
the human form, and they are still catalyst in your growth. And you are still, because you initiated each other as twin flames, and there is no going back from that. So
No.
definitely they are also ascending, but they may or may not come in union depending on the free will that they use. And if it is in your soul's blueprint, and the soul blueprint also may change, as I
Yes.
understand. As you evolve, it's not like a set in stone kind of a thing. Your higher
There's no
self
there's
may,
no point to living if we're following. If you have the whole manual before you're born, what's the point, right? We're here to yeah.
because the waiting brings you in the lower vibration. Because the
Well, that's
waiting
it.
is you are expecting that person to come back. Then there is an attachment to that person, and that is the thing. So
It's the attachment to the person, not just that particular it all of our attachments are what create the blockages to ascensions, but that's why we're here. So it's beautiful. So it's like I'm seeing that I have an attachment to this person. And we keep going back and forth from I'm attached to this person to I'm seeing I'm attached to this
yeah.
person. And again, I see it. It's like when you're watching a movie or a TV show. You can be you're in usually when you're in the you're when you're watching you're in the story, so you're following it, you're with the characters, you relate to one, you want things to go well. And then you can also pull yourself out and be like, oh, I'm a person watching these little bodies on a screen doing things, and that's kind of weird, but oh, the lighting's really nice and this and this. And then we're like, no, that's annoying, I want to go back into the story. So this is life, right? So of course, most people at this point, and things are shifting fast, are in the dream, are in the so-called matrix, and they're not aware at all that there's a mechanism through which this is all happening, and to stand back and to pull back and to look at what's going on. So it sounds like you are very much in that, and the key to growth is that going back and forth, because as long as we're not in the other realms, in the higher dimensions, we're in this density, this third dimension, we are in separation. Now, that is manifesting as the twin flames in separation, as everything in separation. I was reading recently this brilliant astrologer, Barbara Hand Clow, and she talks in one of her books about the difference between duality and polarity.
Oh,
And this wasn't even her point, but it really stuck out to me. So I started contemplating it. And duality is when there are two sides, and the two side you're in the matrix, there's a war going on or whatever. The wars are all within. There's one side, there's two sides. You can only see your side, and there's no coming out of it. This is violence. This is contraction. There's no potential to go beyond this, and it's just going to go like this until something happens.
oh.
In polarity, we are aware that there are two sides or multiple sides, or me and you, and yet there's a curiosity about the process of how we're separate. Who is this person? How can I understand this side better? How can we look at this from a perspective towards wanting peace? And as soon as you do that, you're aware of the polarity, but you're coming from a different perspective. So we're not in the third dimension to disappear and be invisible, we are entering our light bodies and we are coming out of this density, but we are here to do that through these densities. So to emerge from duality and seeing no way out aside from ourselves and into polarity. So what you're talking about also, this twin flame journey, is this beautiful example of we are ultimately one and connected in the most almost a literal sense. And yet we're in these two bodies, and there's a reason for that. There's a purpose for this. It's not just to be together, it's to come together when all of the conditions have been met, not judgment conditions, but when we have fully attained inner unity and harmony within the self. And that creates the magnetism for the union.
Yeah, true. And that's why the twin flame union, as in twin flame path, is about polarity. the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and then there is the sacred union, when you realize that, okay, ultimately at the higher level you are anyway in union. All of us are one consciousness in the higher level. And
Yes.
as we go on in different dimensions, and it may be like at the higher self level, we are one. Even though below that, when the soul splits, it happens in the lower dimensions, and then that's how you experience it differently. But at the higher level, you are anyway one with that soul, as a part of higher self, probably even higher than that. You are anyway one, you are in union.
Yep.
And when we remember that, then we don't have that attachment and going into the lower vibration of waiting because of that attachment to other person.
Yes.
And you can still
Yes.
hold space. You can still hold
Exactly.
space for that person to grow, but
Exactly.
not be attached to it. And this dynamic can be true for any relationship, not just twin flame. Because what is my experience and everybody's experience is, when you are sending, a lot of people start falling out of your life because of the different vibration. And then you'll be guided to detach from them, because it's their own journey. You can't force somebody to ascend, like we talked about that. And you can still hold space and send them love,
Yeah.
and set boundaries and say that, okay, I will still detach from you for my own self.
And as long as we're not sending the love and doing it from compassion, we're not really doing it, right? Because as long as we're still angry, or why is there this disconnect, and why, then we're still in that polarity, potentially duality, and then we are actually, we're separating out of anger, so it's not separation. Our anger still tethers us. But so it's exactly what you said. As long as we can acknowledge, and I think we all need to now in this so-called split. I see it much more fluidly than a split, but we're really noticing lately, especially this year, for me at least, it's it's become so disorienting, right? And
Mm.
so we are noticing people falling out of our lives, or at least noticing we feel really disconnected to certain people that we were connected to before. Also hopefully finding connections with like-minded, like-souled people. But as we notice this radical disconnect, it's disorienting, because this was our lives. And so what do we do about it? And so, like you said, if we can just see it for what it is, see it from that higher perspective of, oh, okay, our vibration was more similar before, and it's not now. And there's no going backwards. We've anchored the light that we've anchored the wisdom, and cleared the pathways that we've cleared. Now we, with love and compassion, let it go, knowing there's no better or worse. We don't know why certain souls are they making choices that are keeping them in lower density. Did they come here specifically to play out certain dramas and themes, and of course to kind of experiment with what their free will is going to do? But even collectively, to me, that's what it feels like. There's a whole group of humanity, a whole sector of humanity, let's say, with AI and with technology and all that whole topic, that there are some that are just naturally really gravitating towards these new technologies and these new abilities, and then there are some that are not. And this can become a real duality. And if we're lucky, we can just sort of say, oh, okay, the way I see it, because I'm kind of one who's running away from that, and where I can look at it and say, oh, okay, probably this has happened before, in a, never mind another timeline, but in another cycle, and this has all happened
Yes.
before. And there are certain among us who have come here collectively to re-fall into that pattern, to see how that will go and to play it out. And if we've come here and we instinctively want to stay radically human and not kind of tether ourselves to certain technologies, we're coming from another kind of aspect and we can say, is it ascension? Is it just a different timeline of experience where it's not useful for us to engage anymore, right? So it's kind of like if you're having an argument with someone, with a loved one. At some point, it feels useful to have the argument or the discussion and to try to find the middle ground. And then when you know you're not going to, it's not useful anymore. It's time to do whatever you do to resolve it. But maybe with certain people, it's time to part ways. And so collectively, there's a parting of ways I feel happening now. And it's kind of beautiful because those who want to have this experience can have that experience. And those of us who want to have another experience are going to have another experience. And we're not learning anymore. We're not seeing the same world anymore. So it's outlived its course. You know, this very disorienting phase that we felt this year where realities are shifting and
Yeah.
nothing, it's like a puzzle that we can't put together. It's temporary and it's going to lead to a much bigger division, but it's going to, what will feel very strange at first is going to start to become a whole new unified reality where we have a whole different set of experiences. I feel that's
What's
what's coming.
Yeah. What's your understanding? Because it's interesting because I wanted to come to that 2025 has been like a huge chaotic year. And now AI and technology being on the forefront, there is definitely a timeline split that is going to be there. And there are myriad of timelines available right now. And you can jump in between. What I understand is that there'll be a time when you will not be able to jump the timelines. They will be so far apart that you will not be able to jump the timelines. And the split is going to be wider and wider. What is your understanding about what is going to happen from Akashic perspective? What is going to happen now in terms of AI and technology? And are we really going to have 3D versus 5D split, or is everyone going to ascend? What's your understanding?
Yes, and I've contemplated this in my records many times. So I'm in my records and I'm also, you know, offering the what's come through before. I just got shivers all over my body as this felt sense came in of, is everyone ascending? Yes. Is everyone ascending at the same time? Whatever time is? No. And so that's pretty definitive as how I see it and how it comes through for me. So it's kind of like what I just said, that there are those, and it feels, who are in this third density experience, and we are still in this we can call it the carbon-based, heavier, denser experience of polarity and duality. It is clearly being upended. It's being uprooted now. And how every individual is going to respond to that is going to be based on where they come from karmically, where they come from on their evolution path over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Also, what their higher souls want for them to experience. For example, if there were some souls who were on Atlantis and they were really into the technologies, and then it really went wrong and corrupt, and all of that stuff happened, and they didn't have a chance to resolve that. Maybe they came here in this exact time that is very closely mimicking, we can argue, what happened in the end of Atlantis, to see if they can do it differently. And how things are going now, it doesn't feel like they're doing it differently. They're, you know, we're seeing it. The people are excited to have chips in their brains, you know, to be, so they can do the, it's going in a trajectory that, it's not to say that it's not ascending, but it's not conducive to a 5D consciousness, because the more we tether ourselves to AI, the more we move towards this transhumanism, which those people might regard as enhanced versions of ourselves. The 5D consciousness, if there's one thing we can say about it, is it's heart-based. It is, I see it as heavily Pleiadian influenced, and the Pleiades are the realm of the heart space. You know, sometimes I see all these different star systems filtering them, their intelligence and their wisdom through the Pleiadians. Like now to the Pleiadians who come to the earth space and be like, shine your light. Like this is the time of the opening of the heart, which we can only do as an organic human. And organic humans are the most sophisticated technology that is absolutely possible to exist. Look at one cell under a microscope, it's all there. And we don't have a chance probably to talk about the cycles and cycles where humans have gained mastery and achieved their light bodies and the Christ consciousness. Like all of this is within the domain of all of us to achieve. So for those of us on the track towards 5D, it feels inconceivable that we would want to tether ourselves to a consciousness that is not good or bad, but that does not have a heart. It will never have a heart. It's just not what it is. It's an intelligence that is not heart-based. We are an intelligence that is heart-based, and our hearts are the one portal to all the dimensional experiences, period, end of story. And I can be very militant about that. So it's not that it's wrong to go on that path of AI. I believe there are other cycles, other timelines, other star systems where there is such an evolved soul, there is such an ascension process that humans can work with these technologies because there's a deep respect for those technologies. We're not trying to control them, but we can use them because we're in our wholeness. We are not there yet. And so to outsource our wholeness, you can't do it. It's like asking your friend to cheat and write your test for you and saying, I passed my test. You didn't pass anything, your friend did. So to me, and to put it in simple terms, all of which to say is there are souls, I believe, that are not coming with us on the ascension path by their own soul's, design. It's not to say they're not coming. It's that I don't see it as one split into two, and some stay here, some go here. Like I said before, I don't think it's 5D is not a destination. So I believe that there are also many souls in between these two that I've described that are at different stages of, oh, maybe I should question that, or what is this all about? And so many clients are asking these exact questions, like, what does awakening look like? What is it? And it's very clear that there are many stages of the evolutionary process, always has been. So when I tune in, as I'm speaking, there's this image coming through from the records, and I'm seeing it like Earth. I mean, it's Gaia, but I'm seeing it as this globe, and it's all blue. So I'm seeing this, it's water, and I'm seeing this light consciousness come down, these light codes, this light wisdom, and it's interacting with this crystal wisdom intelligence of the waters. The water is how we came here. It's how we, everything transmutes through the healing energies of water. And I'm seeing the water speaking to what you were saying about the feminine and masculine. I'm seeing the waters vertical, like this way, forming the earth. And on the one side is the feminine, on the one side is the masculine. And they're not at war. I see them looking at each other like mirrors. And this isn't 3D, 5D, because masculine, feminine is everywhere. But I'm seeing that where Earth is at right now is that the forces, the deep dark forces propelling this evolution, the chaos that we're in right now, it's been anchored. And I actually see it as the Hindu goddess of Kali working with Mother Mary in the core of the earth, like literally holding this nurturing space for the fiery act of transmutation, because Gaia herself is also ascending. I see that process as being complete to an extent. That has been anchored, and now we're seeing its eruptions on the surface. But I'm seeing these waters of the feminine and masculine looking at each other, ready to come into this wholeness. And it's not about the rise of feminine and just the masculine. It's about the divine masculine rising, the divine feminine rising, holding each other. As this happens, I'm seeing a lotus flower coming up from the mud, which is, of course, also the source of all things, this earth that gives us our nourishment as humans, this beautiful planet that gives us our sustenance. And there are dimensions in the earth too, the first dimension, the second dimension. So this is also part of our multidimensionality. We're not only going here, we have to do it from below. I see this lotus rising and it's unfolding into these infinite petals of experience. And I see each of these individuals kind of climbing up this lotus stem. And there are many who are doing this together and who are of the same vibration, but it's layers and layers and layers. And so I see 5D as already anchored here. There are already those on this earth, we know this, who are in their light bodies. And they are, and as light workers, what you're doing with this podcast, you know, what sharing the light, facilitating, holding space for healing, anchoring the grids, you know, all of what is happening now is the anchoring of the fifth dimensional experience here. And as we're ready, we enter. And as we enter these vibrations, there will be those who drift away, and it will be like we're separate existences. But I don't see it as two. I see it as this ever unfolding path.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and my guests. If you resonate with me, subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share. Let's keep this beautiful energy in flow, in motion. Namaste. Lots of love.